right, I want to have a quick talk about parenting, right? So yesterday was a very hard day for us, right? The kids were totally getting on mommy's nerves, and to the point where she had planned a pretty relaxing day for them to rest, because a couple of them weren't feeling quite up to par to go to school. So she allowed them all to stay home, and then she was going to take them somewhere like to the beach so they could just relax, get some fresh air, and, you know, hopefully begin to feel better. Halfway there though, they all started getting on her nerves, so she turned around and brought them all home, right? And so then she let us say, hey, I'm gonna just go by myself. I'm gonna bring them back, you can keep them, I'm getting out of here because they're getting on my nerves, right? So I decided to have a talk with these kids, and I was like, hey, you know, like, what's going on? Like, why did mommy decide to turn around and bring you all back when she had planned a fun day for you? And so as I talked to the kids, you know, each of them talked about what they did or what they didn't do. I had individual conversations with them one-on-one, right? And I asked them if they thought what they did warranted that they should receive some sort of discipline. And so I asked them, they were like, well, I don't know, what do you mean? And I was like, well, do you think you should get a spanking? Do you think you should lose privileges? Do you think you should be in timeout? Like, what do you think will help you? Because I said, you know, my purpose as a parent is not just to punish you because you do something wrong. My goal is to help you learn from it so you know how to make better decisions for the future, right? Because we want to teach our kids decision-making skills, we want to teach them problem-solving skills, we want to teach them how to handle themselves and their emotions. And yesterday, the emotions of them were all getting to the point that it caused them to do actions that they wouldn't otherwise do if they didn't have that heightened emotion. So I had them talk about that and say, you know, what do you think will help you? And so they all came up with different ideas of what would help them, right? Like sitting in timeout or having the privileges taken away or things like that, right? So we talked that through, and then everything was good. And yesterday I had to go to Costco. I had to get my daughter's eye prescription done. It was time of year to go get her prescription updated for her glasses. And so when we went there, I had a gentleman that approached me and said, hey, like, you know, I have 2 kids, and you're walking around here with 4 kids. Like, how do you keep them all in line? Like, they're so well behaved. And I was like, well, they're not always that well behaved, you know? I was like, today we had a hard day. They all had a good talking to, and after that, they know they don't have any more straws to mess up, you know? Otherwise, daddy's gonna come down with the wrath. So it was just at that moment that it looked like everything was all together. But if they had seen us a couple hours earlier, oh my gosh, it was not all together. Everybody was crying, everybody was angry. Someone did something to someone else did something to them. Mommy yelled at them, their feelings were hurt, a whole bunch of stuff happened, right? So it's funny how sometimes you see people in public and you think like, oh wow, their kids are so well behaved, they're so well mannered, they do this or that. But at the end of the day, they're still kids, you know, and it's us as parents, we have to try to give the best example of how we want them to handle conflict, how we want them to resolve things and do better for themselves so they can grow up and be the best person that they can be, right? Because I told all the kids yesterday, because they all were wondering what each other's discipline was, right? Because everyone didn't know, and they didn't talk to each other. Like, well, why did so-and-so get that? Or why did I get this? And I was like, listen, I love all of you equally, but I will never treat all of you equally. You know, I have 4 kids. My oldest, you will get a lot of first experiences that the other kids won't get. But there's other experiences they will have that you won't get, because you might be already gone out the house, or you just won't have that because it wasn't there when you were at that age. So I try to explain to them how my wife and I love them equally, but they'll be treated differently based on what they need, right? So if one of them needs more resources to succeed in an area, I'm going to commit more resources to them so they can succeed in that area. If another one doesn't need resources in that area, but in another, I'm going to make sure to give them what they need. So even when it comes to discipline, when it comes to rewards, when it comes to things for fun or pleasure, it's not always equal. You know, sometimes one kid monetarily might cost more than another, or the amount of time I spend with one might be more than another, but it's based on what their emotional and psychological needs are to help them develop into the best person I can help them to be. So that's just a tidbit that I think could be helpful for a lot of parents, because sometimes we can feel a little bit of guilt that we did XYZ for one kid, but not for the other. But if the other kids didn't need that, then there was no point for you to do it.